The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Finish training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
This October, the wrong station celebrates a decade of dread. You can read the show notes to discover terrible new ways to celebrate with us. Today's episode, Dynamis, is written by Alexander Saxton and performed by Anthony Botelho. When their little cousin came to the city for the first time, Taryn and Riley were excited to be the big cousins. They were going to show him everything. They picked him up at the station and took him home on the Magna train and walked him up the street to their old house and told him about everything Toronto had to offer. "It's going to be awesome," said Riley. "We're going to play laser tag and we're going to the beach and, there's this sick arcade up by the movie theater and we can go down to the big mall. What else, Tare? Sky Zone, mini golf. Energize. You're going to love Energize. It's this sort of obstacle course. And we'll go to Kensington Market one day. Yeah, we've got it all planned out." As an afterthought, she asked, "Was there anything you wanted to do while you were here?" Adam thought for a moment. He was a quiet kid, on the small side. Finally, he said, "I want to see Dynamis." Taryn and Riley gave each other blank looks. It was like he'd asked to go see Thomas Edison demonstrate the power of electricity. It was like he'd asked to see a vaudeville show. Dynamis? Really? Isn't that a little, boring? Said Taryn. She regretted the word as soon as it came out of her mouth. The poor kid hunched right up and looked down at his old running shoes. "It's just that I've never seen it before." Riley shot Taryn a look, even though he'd come up right to the edge of using the same word. He put an arm around Adam's shoulder. "Sure thing, buddy. Of course we can go see Dynamis. No, Dynamis is cool. It's just that we live here, so it doesn't feel as special for us. It's like the CK Tower. Yeah, it's cool, but you see it every day, so it just sort of fades into the background." Adam looked up. "So we can really go see it?" Behind Adam's back, Taryn crossed her eyes and stuck out her tongue. Riley pretended not to notice. "Course we can, dude. We'll add it to the list." That evening, after Adam went to bed, Taryn knocked on Riley's door and then flumped down on his bed. She groaned up at the popcorn ceiling. "Do we really have to go and see Dynamis?" "Oh, God, no," said Riley. "Dynamis sucks. We're just going to take him to a bunch of cool things, and by the end of the week he'll have had so much fun, he won't even realize we ran out of time to go see Dynamis. It'll be like, 'Aw, sorry, bud, we ran out of time, but you can go see Dynamis next time you visit.'" Taryn shot him finger guns, all while still looking at the popcorn. "And by then," she said, "he'll have grown out of it, or be old enough to go on his own." "Sick," said Taryn. Sick. Sounds like a plan." "Cool," said Riley. "Get out of my room." At breakfast next morning, they ate toast with Nutella and powdered sugar, And when Adam asked if they were going to go see Dynamis, Riley clapped one hand to his forehead and said, "Oh, shoot, he'd already bought them tickets for the ferry." So the three cousins rode across the island. They took in the rides at Centerville, defended their lunch from an aggressive goose at the island zoo, ate too much cotton candy, and went swimming at the beach until the sun turned them red and groggy for the ferry ride home. "Can we see Dynamis tomorrow?" Adam asked on the boat. The sun shone bright on the waves outside. Riley was half asleep. Maybe. I'm too tired to make plans right now." The next morning, they stole a march on the kid. They woke him early and announced they had passes to Wonderland. "I thought we were going to go see Dynamis." Sorry, bud. We'll go later in the week, I swear." It was the second day of sun and rides and deep-fried food. But Adam was quiet for most of it. They rode the Mangler and Graviton, and he just endured the G-force with gritted teeth. When they waited in line, drinking liters of lukewarm Coke, he just stared off into the southern distance. That evening, bloated and sunstruck, Riley told his sister he didn't think he could take another day of sun and corn syrup. "If I eat one more fried thing, I will die. I will just stop existing." He groaned up at the popcorn ceiling. "Maybe we should just go see Dynamis tomorrow." Taryn wasn't doing much better. She was lying on the floor with a washcloth on her face. "Sure," she said. "I guess." But when Adam announced at breakfast they were going to see Dynamis that day, Taryn and Riley were rescued by their mom, who looked doubtfully out the kitchen window. "It's really coming down out there today. Why don't you do the museum instead?" The poor kid was crushed, but that wasn't on Taryn and Riley. "That's a great idea," they said in unison, and then spent the rainy afternoon wandering through geodes and taxidermied beasts. Taryn liked the section with the 18th and 19th century rooms, British Restoration, American Royal, French Directory. She wanted to be a costume designer and paid attention to the textiles. Riley just liked medieval swords. But all Adam wanted to do was hang around the old Dynamis exhibit, which is from, 1992. It was all dusty. They kept sneezing. Eventually, they had to leave them there and come back before the place closed down. "Let's go tomorrow," he pleaded as they walked home in the rain. "Please, can we? You said later in the week, and it's later in the week. Can we please just go?" The older cousins looked at one another. "Well," said Riley, "we were planning to go to the trampoline place tomorrow, and then laser tag. Doesn't that sound more fun?" "No." Adam stopped, putting his foot down in a puddle. It was hard for him to stand up to the older kids. He was almost crying. "Tomorrow's my second last day, and Dynamis is the one thing I really wanted to see. I want to go tomorrow because I don't want something else to come up and then I won't be able to see it. Please." He stared up at them with dark, defiant eyes. "Please, can't we go?" The older cousins looked at one another. Taryn grimaced. Riley shrugged, defeated. They couldn't do it to him any longer. "Of course," they said, turning back in unison. We'll go first thing in the morning," Riley said. "You mean it?" Adam ran ahead and roared and splashed the whole way home. The next day came gray and rainy, too. It was one of those end-of-summer days when the air is so thick and muggy you can barely breathe. Taryn and Riley's dad had the morning off, so he drove them all the way over to the East End and south to the base of the Leslie Spit. "Dynamis, huh?" he said to the quiet trio in the back seat. "Kids are really going to see Dynamis." He dropped them off. "Oh, no, I'll go get a coffee or something. I've seen Dynamis before." And the three lined up at the entrance to the park. The tickets didn't cost much, but the line was long. Mostly first-generation families from Scarborough or Markham, looking for something cheap to do with the kids on a weekend. The rain picked up a little while they waited, and the atmosphere was quiet. A few kids ambled up and down the line, chasing each other without any real energy. Up ahead, the original sign still stood, old wooden zigzags painted white and red, but splintered, faded out, and rotting green with age. "Dynamis," one of them declared, "the wonder of the ancient world." Another challenged them to experience the awe and terror of Dynamis. As they passed sign after sign, Riley imitated each in an old-timey radio voice. You'll never swim again after you see Dynamis. Hold your girl close. You're about to see Dynamis. Taryn joined in. You'll shit your pants over Dynamis. Riley laughed. Where did it say that? Oh, just back there. Didn't you see? Thank you for bringing me. Adam broke in a quiet voice. The other two cut their laughter short. I know you didn't want to come, he said, but it means a lot to me. They were embarrassed. They didn't know they'd been so obvious. Well, sure, buddy. Anytime. Yeah, of course. At last, under a slack rain, they made it to the front of the queue. They gave their tickets at the kiosk, pushed through the old turnstile, and climbed up onto the old rusted catwalk above the water. They were looking down on a gray lagoon that stretched west toward the city, all the way to Cherry Beach and the Toronto Islands. It was enclosed by great piles sunk deep into the lake bed mud, a total area about 3 miles wide and 2 across. From their vantage point, among the listless children of bored parents, they could see Dynamis. And what is Dynamis, you ask? Well, here's what everybody knows. In 1932, a group of Nazi scientists working with the cooperation of the Austrian government began an excavation at the deepest point of the Lambrechtsofen cave, nearly 2 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. After initiating the largest non-nuclear explosion in human history, they successfully broke through to the subterranean continent of Iqaluit-Arshatim. There, they discovered lightless jungles and sunless seas that teemed with ichthyosaurs and dinosaurs and giant apes and huge therapsids, all living in a constant nightmare struggle underneath the gloom of phosphorescent blooms and bioluminescent krill. The Nazis quickly exterminated most of the troglodyte Neanderthals who made that jungle their home, enlisting the remnants as shock troops against the U.S. GIs of the subterranean front. With the resources of Iqaluit-Arshatim, the Nazis were able to drag out their war long after Japan was defeated in 1945, and among notable assets recovered was the sea monster Dynamis, who, at 932 feet long and 3,600 tons, was far and away the largest living creature ever discovered. Captured, drugged, and delivered to the surface by a relay of airships, Dynamis was then fitted with a Nazi brain shunt and several hundred tons of plate armor, then was released into the Atlantic Ocean to disrupt Allied shipping. By the war's end in 1951, Dynamis had destroyed more than 70 transports and merchant ships, as well as 2 destroyers. Expatriated to the U.S. as part of Operation Paperclip, Dynamis became the subject of U.S. military testing until 1957, when funding was slashed and the creature, now a white elephant, was pawned off on the Canadian government as part of the treaty establishing NORAD. Since then, the creature has survived as a barely profitable tourist attraction in the Leslie Spit Lagoon, where it lives off of farmed Clayton giant salmon, as well as moderate amounts of waste from the Darlington nuclear plant. The 3 cousins stood for a long time on that rusty gray scaffold, watching the enormous beast swim lazy circles of the lagoon. It was unlike anything Adam had ever seen in real life. A city of spines and fins and snaggleteeth and chitinous black scale. It was like an eel, a crocodile, and an anglerfish, but larger than an oil tanker. When it surfaced, its slitted eyes rolled, and its 12-foot teeth sluiced the gray lake water. When it groaned, the sound sent rumbles through the steel frame beneath their feet. Adam had waited his entire life to see Dynamis, and here it was. He wanted to raise his arms and shout, "Dynamis! Dynamis!" He wanted to fall down and weep. He wanted to worship this unbelievable wonder of the world. But everyone else was just standing around, looking bored. Riley was balling up bits of receipt from his pocket and flicking them off the railing. Taryn was looking at her phone. Adam crouched, resting his chin on his arms on one of the lower rungs of the guardrail, and looked out. Dynamis swam, raising a bow wave 8 feet high. Adam looked back up at his cousins, and at the people around him. He looked back down at Dynamis. Maybe Dynamis wasn't such a big deal after all. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes passed. Then, in a small voice, he said, "Okay, I'm ready to go." Wrong Station is made possible with the generous support of our listeners on Patreon. Join us today at patreon.com/The Wrong Station for bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes content, ad-free listening, and additional goodies celebrating our decade of dread. The Wrong Station is co-produced by Alexander Saxton, Anthony Botelho, and Jacob Duarte Spiel, with music composed and performed by Alon Citrin, and arranged for the viola and performed by Viola Schmidt. You can follow us on social media at The Wrong Station, or email us at thewrongstation@gmail.com. And until next time, thank you for listening.